The world we experience is being continually reshaped, but we can't always recognize it because we each see the world through our own unique filter. We like to think these filters are created only by facts, but our beliefs play a role too. And sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between them. Separating our facts from beliefs requires a large dose of humility. When beliefs remain unacknowledged, we leave no room for others to have a different set. Eliminating the space for different beliefs makes constructive dialogue impossible. It also limits our ability to solve problems. Not to mention, it's a recipe for extremism. Meaning, if you and I disagree, and you treat my viewpoint as illegitimate, our discussion probably won't change my mind, but it may push me further to the extreme. We see more about how this works when we talk about the problem of excessive social penalties. Here are some examples of sensitive and difficult open questions that are sometimes treated as though they have factual answers. What % of adult white Americans do you think are racist? What % of men do you think would commit sexual assault if they thought they could get away with it? To what extent is the sorting of men and women into different occupations due to gender roles and discrimination? Are members of minority groups significantly better off than they were 50 years ago? The vast majority of people, upon hearing the first two questions, would concede that the answer is neither 0 nor 100. But there's little agreement about where we land in between. The second two questions don't have clear answers either. All of these are challenging in part because there's no consensus on what the terms mean. For instance, does racism have to include a belief in the superiority of one race over another? Or is it simply the absence of active policy efforts to successfully reduce differences between racial groups? What defines a gender role? And what exactly do we mean by being better off? Consider the point about the definition of racism. In the protests in the wake of the killing of George Floyd, Lee Fang, a journalist for the left-leaning publication The Intercept, published an interview with Max, a black man who was, according to Fang, a supporter of Black Lives Matter. During the interview, Max brought up the topic of black-on-black crime.
Why does a black life matter only when a white man takes it? I have that question. Why do we value our lives on the color of the person who takes it? Because where I grew up at in East Oakland, there's been a lot of black people who were killed by other black people, or black people who killed brown people, or some vice versa and stuff like that. Why is attention only put on it and only brought up when a white man takes my life? Why are we so tethered with this white-black? I just don't get it.
For publishing this interview, Fang was himself called racist. The thinking is that while black-on-black crime is tragic, it's not racially motivated, where the same can't be said when it occurs between races. And Fang, regardless of whether he agreed with Max's statement, was racist for airing Max's sentiment. For people who understand racism as evidenced by what's seen as a broader denial of racist power structures, this assessment may make sense. However, for those who see Max's comment not as a denial, but as an airing of important points to consider, calling Fang racist is a fundamental misapplication of the term. The divergence of these perspectives is a core piece of why communication is so difficult. It's not realistic or even desirable to think that everyone will share a single viewpoint. If we accept that idea, then the distinction between beliefs and facts becomes key. But making that distinction requires the humility to challenge what it is we think we know. In this case, that means staying open, staying curious, and asking questions without judgment. This doesn't often come naturally, but it's a necessary step for moving forward.